Hi, and a very good morning to you. You know, something should be done about this because I know it's YouTube, but you know, this sort of stalking can get very quickly out of hand. Guys, all I'm going to ask you to do is just bear with me to the best part of the end of this video, and I will show you everything, you know, that a lot of people have been asking in the comments section. We're talking about this guy here, this Brian Gunderson in Canada, who I'm going to show you what his claims are in a bit. But basically calling me a con man, there's no observatory, I don't have any equipment, Kendall doesn't exist. This particular stalker has gone a little bit further than that, but to also research, okay, they are public records, but you know, there is also something else I'll mention. So he's gone through the public records to find out what sort of companies I've owned in the past. And of course you can see here, going back to the 6th of April, I owned a company called Perfumes Jean Barry. I've also owned a couple of other companies. There's nothing wrong with this. You know, I have been self-employed for the best part of my life. But this guy's gone even further. He's gone onto Facebook and, you know, downloaded photographs of not just myself but of my family members. In this video he's done of me, he's claiming that this is me and that this is my Porsche 911. This photo was taken around 15 odd years ago, and this actually is my brother, and this is his Porsche. If he was clued up, he would know that I don't drive a 911, I drive a Cayman. And he also went and searched for my property and found the wrong one. And this is how stupid the guy is. See these garage doors? They're blue here, but in the photo he claims I live at. Look at the colour of the garage door on the right hand side, well, next to my brother. But I think it gets out of hand, you know, when people obviously are spending a lot of time to go into your personal details, which are readily available on the internet today on things like social media platforms like Facebook, or Meta as it's called now, and you know, start slandering you off by calling you a con artist. Some of the things, here's some of the claims. I just want to go through them because can you imagine, guys, spending 10 years of your life, you know, researching something as honestly as you possibly could and trying to inform people and be helpful on the topic, because simply you cannot get access to this. We've talked about this before. The European Space Agency doesn't allow level 2 and above information out because of the military investment in that mission for the swarm, is what I'm talking about, the swarm satellites. They don't allow the public to see that. And I have had claims, I cannot verify them, but I've had people say that they work on that mission and that they're the ones that collect the data, but they're not allowed to analyse it. It has to go somewhere else to be analysed. And of course that could throw up, you know, doubt, couldn't it? But let's just go through some of the things that this guy has claimed, and a couple of others. And I'm going to mention Ben Davison as well, because after the end of this video, after I show my scientific credentials as well as all the equipment that we use here at the observatory for you guys, and on top of that I will answer that question as well for those that are patiently going to wait to the end of this video, and I will try and be brief. I will show you how many miles is left and how much time is left before we cross that theoretical 40-degree line on Google Earth for you, okay? So he claims that Jean Barry Beards, which is me, is a lying con artist who lives in central England and runs maverickstar Reloaded on YouTube. This fraud begs for donations for his observatory, which does not exist. He lies about the Earth's magnetic field reaching some 40-degree mark and it will then flip. He lied about having lung cancer to get donations to his channel. He lied about marrying some Polish woman to make out he had bought a house and was a regular family guy. He's not a scientist. He said that the sunspots were in the wrong place during solar minimum and then accused NASA of covering it up. He lies to people in other countries like about Kendall. Kendall does not exist, he claims. He pulled the same con 10 years ago and then did a runner when his 40-degree thing failed. Gene Barry Beards is his name, and please mass report his YouTube channel. The man is a criminal. First of all, what this guy's done is committed an offence, because he's put this in a written format as well as done a video on me. It's actually classed as defamatory because it's slander in a written form. You know, I studied at Open University just the foundation course in law, and I know that this is defamatory. The only thing is that, you know, if I had the time and the money to go after people like this guy and the other guy and a few others like Ben Davison, I would do that. But for now, I'm going to let them carry on running the mouth off about me, because every time they say on a video or in writing like this that I'm a con artist, they've just opened themselves up for a lawsuit which could financially break them. It is sad that we are living in a time where this behaviour is getting worse, guys, and that the good people that are trying to do good work are getting, you know, these sort of things said about them. It makes me wonder if these are individuals or they are part of a cyber team going out for people to discredit them. You know, we've raised a lot of interest over the 10 years to a rare anomaly, and I've noticed one thing, that when you deal with the general public, you know, you give them their answer as honestly as you can, but then they want to resort to the next thing and the next thing, and we could of course go on and on and on, and I could do hundreds of these videos, but I just wanted to just today clear up a few things. So if you bear with me, I'll get through this as quick as we can, and you can see that yes, this is an official observatory, even though I use part of my home to record some of the data. I use you know, some equipment in other countries which people run for me, which I'll show you. We have CO2 detectors, we've got muon detectors, we've got radiation detectors, and we have atmospheric oxygen detectors, as well as the Trimax system in my home, which all collects data. Now, if something is collecting data, would you agree with me that then it is considered observations? Even though I'm not popping my eye, which I can't understand why people would think that just by putting your eye into a telescope that is considered an observatory. And we had some comments in the recent section on about, oh, where's all the telescopes? Why have we never seen his observation or his observatory? Because it's my family home. Okay, that's why. And I've taken the time out to turn a little bit of my family home into this observatory, and, you know, use one of the bedrooms as, you know, somewhere to build some of this equipment that we build. So let me show you some of this equipment then. So again, it's really sad that we have to do these things, but you know, some people innocently come along to our channel on YouTube and they do trust that we are who we say they are, but then when they go over to these other websites like Suspicious Observers, Ben Davison and others, and they hear them calling me a con man, you know, they get a different impression about me. So I'm going to put my credentials here for you to see, and let's see then Ben Davison do the same, and let's see these other people apologise, because I think me and you know they're not going to apologise, because they're just terrible people. I want to address one of the things first of all, and I can only do it because I haven't got this photo on my computer, but I'll show you. You know, someone said that I was begging for money because I found out that I'd been told, actually, that I'd got lung cancer. And it was a misdiagnosis by the doctor. Obviously, that was based on this x-ray. And you can see the area of concern that they was on about with me at this time was, you know, this white area here. But if you zoom in, you can see that is my x-ray there. But anyhow, you know what, I never asked anybody for money on the basis of this. I just merely, because when I found out about it, this was about 3.5 years ago now, I was quite shocked. And of course, when someone tells you that you've got cancer, like this female doctor did, you know, it changes your life from the moment that you hear those words, trust me. But this turned out to be nothing more than pleurisy, and it should have been diagnosed a lot sooner than what it was. After about 3 PET-TC scans, this area of inflammation reduced. Then yeah, that's enough. I don't need to talk about my medical problems. If anyone's got an issue with my medical history and what I've said, then go back to the video and find it, and then I'll give you my medical records and we can deal with this matter in court. So, you know, we've been accused of claiming that we designed this board. This is our Muon Detector. That's the silicon photo multiplier that goes on it. Now, if you've followed me and you've got some grey matter, you will know that I have never claimed that I designed this. You can clearly see Cosmic Watch on the bottom of the circuit board that we have printed. We have these made, and we apply all the, you know, the circuit components to the board, you know, and that is what collects the muon data. And this was always acknowledged. We give the people that was responsible for this, it's MIT in America that designed it, but they made it publicly free for everybody to build. I don't know anyone else that's took the time out to build a muon detector. You can buy these things, but when I looked into buying these things, there was astronomical prices. You know, we're talking nearly £7,000. But you can buy them, or you can make them yourselves. And it was nice, and I've always said that it was really nice of MIT to make it publicly available, because we could never at this observatory afford to pay you know, for these components to be given us. You know, another thing that we built here at the observatory is our own oxygen sensor. I'm just waiting for it to boot up here. So I 3D printed this oxygen sensor myself, and you know, this is another piece of equipment. This is what we put outside, and we measure the atmospheric oxygen. It's got the state-of-the-art Luminox sensor in here. The sensor, that SIPN in the middle there, that board, that shiny crystal that looks like a solar panel, is the biggest one you can buy at the moment. That is the biggest silicon photo multiplier available at the moment. And these cost, like, unlike some people claim, these cost me 118 sterling pounds, and I'm lucky if I can buy them in small quantities. But this is what we assemble, and we send it out to people like Kemble. And Kemble comes up in our comment section quite often, you know, and he's probably as sick as me as telling people like I do exist. I do collect the data for Gene. I do send it over every week for him, and he does process it, and it does go up onto the internet. But you know, you just cannot get through to some of these individuals, and I'm sure that in some matters, we're not dealing with people that have got, you know, the full capacity of the brain. We collect atmospheric CO2 readings with this. Again, it goes outside, it's just running through the cycle, because it's got an element in it that has to heat up before it takes the sample of CO2. We collect it and we record it on Earth Alpha at a glance for you guys, just like the atmospheric you know, content of oxygen. You know, another piece of equipment we've got is just a standard Geiger counter, because again, if you're looking for cosmic rays, you know that they're going to come and interfere with this as well. So you could use this alongside your muon detector and find out whether there is an increase in radiation. We just use this as a secondary test to find out if we're getting high readings of cosmic rays, or muons should I say, then we're going to get higher readings with a Geiger counter. Go onto the website if you want to see the Trimax system. It's in my loft at the moment, and the reason why we run things, all these things from this property, is because, so I'll just show you that it does work. So that's the reading in my living room, 1,243 parts per million, and why should we be concerned if they are over 500, which they're not? That for the last year that we've been taking readings with this CO2 meter, They've been dropping, in fact, and there's been no mention of mainstream media on that. That's what you get from private individuals with private observatories like ours. Now, I was just distracted briefly with that. We run the observatory from this house, yeah, in central England, that's correct. And the reason why we do that is because we don't get the support from people to afford to buy an elaborate building. You know, I would love that. You know, if there's any millionaires out there that want to donate that sort of money just so that we look good when people walk past, or we can do videos from a nice laboratory or observatory dedicated to house the equipment, I'll set it up there, it's not a problem, I'll do it. But we run on a shoestring, and that's why we build these things ourselves and program them ourselves. We didn't design this ourselves, MIT designed that. That I built myself, right? The Luminox sensor I built myself. The Trimax System I built myself. You can't buy them. And if you wish to try and buy a Trimax system like what we've got, you would be talking over £100,000. This is what we deal with. And finally, but not the least, this is my qualification in science. And if anyone wants to go and ring up the Open University, you can find out yourselves that this is a legitimate certificate from the university. And you can see when I was given this certificate in the 31st of December 2002. So I would love people now to go to Observer's channel and say, you know what you've been saying about Gene is a total and utter crock of shit, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Where's your qualifications? Where's your scientific qualifications? Natural sciences, by the way, covers all of your main topics in science. Chemistry, physics, biology, earth science, maths, etc. And that's not the only courses I've studied. I've studied extra levels of chemistry and physics. I've also studied law, and I've been trained to be a manager, supervisor, board. I was trained by Trident to run board meetings, basically. So I've got a lot of qualifications, and you should respect the fact that I studied at Open University, just like a lot of people do. Highly respect that, because this is something you choose to do in your own spare time. And I chose to study in my own spare time after work when I was running a garage with my brother. You know what? You should be ashamed of yourselves. Those people that have gone onto my Facebook and took photos not just of me, but of my family members to put me down. Because what you've done is actually, I think you've embarrassed them as well. Because now I have to go out and explain and do videos like this to set the record straight. You've seen my credentials. You've seen my equipment. This is the equipment that we sent out to Kendall. And we sent one out to Tony in Hong Kong. We sent 2 out to Australia, 3 out to Australia. There's a Muon Detector in Australia. There's a Muon Detector in Canada, and there's a Muon Detector here in the UK, as well as the Trimax System, and as well as the magnetometers that we send out. This is our equipment. And if we had thousands of pounds, we would have a glorious building which we would call our observatory, but there's no difference. The only difference is that I'm not asking you to supply rent money every month so that I can just waste it. I used our money very shrewdly so that I could do these things for us and continue to do these things for us. And why would I do that? I would do that because this, in my personal opinion, is one of the most serious topics that humanity faces. The magnetic poles reversing is a serious topic, and it has a lot of implications and affects crops around the world. It affects the climate around the world, and it is affecting, government legislation already, and the implications could be very serious for us. I pointed out the worst case scenarios. We end up looking like Mars does today. Mars had a magnetosphere. It had an active core because it had a magnetosphere, and it stopped. It no longer has a magnetosphere, and it no longer has an upper atmosphere, and it barely has any water that isn't frozen in any case on its surface. You know, we live in a sad time, guys. These people are ruthless, wicked individuals, and they should be totally and completely ashamed of themselves. If I've got to come out and do these things to protect myself and my family members, and, you know, be questioned about everything I've ever said on YouTube, I think it's sad. And these people, I believe, can also turn out to be quite dangerous, because when they start going to these levels, it's not long before they go to the next one. And I think it was Dorian Dobbs, the Minister for Media, that has tried to change the laws on platforms like YouTube and others to prevent this happening, because this is nothing short, in my term, about stalking. And, you know, I think the reason why Suspicious Observers has a lot to say about me and what I do is simply because he doesn't have the ability to build equipment himself like this, and he hasn't got any scientific qualifications. He claims to be a studier of due diligence. You know, that's his theory. Is it law as well? Maybe, I don't know, and I don't really care. I just wish he'd shut his mouth. And hopefully, now he's seen my qualifications, he can't go around telling people that I'm not a qualified scientist, because that is a thumb in his eye, just like the rest of them. Now, I promised at the beginning of this video that I would show you, because of the comment section, how many miles we've got left to the 40 degrees, and I'll tell you how long that could possibly be if the magnetic pole currently holds its current migrational speed. Okay, let's get on with that and wrap this up. And finally, as I promised, because a lot of people in the comment section says, how long have we got till we get to the 40 degree mark? Remember, this is a 40 degree mark based only on a theory, simply because this experiment shows that when the compass needle gets to a migration distance of 40 degrees, because of the position of whatever's causing our magnetic anomaly to occur and migrate in our Earth, just like that magnet is, what will happen is at that point we will cross from the strong field lines, which enables the magnetic poles to migrate very slowly like they have over the last 120 years, and accelerate as they go into the weak field lines. That's as simple as it is. You know, it's a theory. Okay, I think it's worth putting on the table and showing people what could possibly happen. But let's face it, our magnetosphere has already decayed by 20%. So it means we're running at around about 80% of our natural protection that we've enjoyed for the last 780,000 years. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, what about the excursions, Gene? Well, let's say 12,000 years ago. Things weren't the way they were today 12,000 years ago, so it doesn't make no difference in my point of view. You know, from the way I see it, is we've only been technologically advanced at this level that we are today for the last 200 years. Let's argue that. Yeah, we know it hasn't been that way because we've only enjoyed mobile phones for the last 40 years or so, or 45 years, or 35 years anyway. You know, it just makes me, all these things makes me feel like, you know, whatever I say, I've got to be more specific, and then you lose the layman's touch of doing these videos, so that the general person that hasn't studied science, you keep all the scientific technical jargon out of the conversation. You show stuff to people that can understand it very easily, and you know, it just annoys me that I've got to go to these levels to, you know, prove myself and protect my family and protect, you know, the research that I've spent 10 years doing. You know, you get people, and if you don't understand this, guys, if you know, you should know, if you've got a brain in your heads that we're not out here to make millions, because if we was, we would have t-shirts for sale, baseball caps. I didn't even have to make these things, I've had them offered me. But you know what, I've been protective of you guys by not putting them up there, because I'm sure if you want a baseball cap, you'll go out and buy yourself the one that you want, not the one that I choose. You know, you don't need no more t-shirts, mugs, etc. None of this merchandise like a lot of the other channels are doing on there. The other thing is, you should have realised that we are active, proactive here. We build equipment to record the data simply because I can't go out every 3 seconds and take a reading of the magnetic North Pole. I designed the equipment to do that. The Trimax System does that for us. It's like the Muon detectors that we've got here and in other parts of the world. You know, they take a reading every 15 minutes. That data gets sent back to me. I process it. I upload the data onto the website. I do a lot of work for you guys. And I'm going to say it, and I don't care. And I'm not ashamed to say it. You know, when I do a latest magnetic pole position, and the only donations we receive is £20, I feel, Gene, for the grief you're getting and for the money you're raising, is it really worth it? And that is why for the last 12 months, you know, or more now, I've been moving my abilities to earn money into other areas. And you know what? You've not heard me talk about how I earn my money. I don't see why I should. I think, you know, I deserve a bit of privacy, and my family deserve a bit of privacy. And if people can't see that there's an honest attempt here to keep people informed of one of the rarest anomalies that we face, then absolute shame on you. Maybe your brains have already been affected by cosmic rays and radiation as a result of our Earth going through this current magnetic pole shift. As for the others, you know, they're going to keep running their mouth off, and one day somebody's going to say to me, we'll deal with the legal aspects of these slanderous people and we'll go out for them on your behalf, Gene. You know, and at that point, you know, they'll regret saying what they've done, because I've got nothing to hide. I've showed you all the equipment, I've showed you my qualifications. Like I say, this is honesty, and if you don't see that, then perhaps there's something a little wicked in you that has prevented you from seeing, you know, an honest approach to, you know, revealing this information for the general public. Because I guarantee you now, these mainstream organisations are not doing it for you. And I think that that is shortchanging you guys. Now, £20, you know, to do a report on what we do for you guys is not a lot of money. You know, I'm hoping now that this has encouraged a few people to see, you know, that I've been a stand-up person for all these years. I've not tried to con anybody. Anybody that knows me is like shocked and mortified about what these people say, but then I guess it is just the general public. But sometimes I feel like I want to defend myself, and I guess that you would feel that same way. Anyhow, link down there in the description. You know, I hope, you know, we've cleared up a lot of issues, and I'll say what I usually do. Have an amazing day. Take care of your loved ones. As always, bye for now.